Hello, everyone. This is part 2 of session 14 of Pre-Socratics to Augustine, also called History of Philosophy 1. We continue to talk about the so-called middle books of the Republic and about the question of what is the form of the good, why is it so important to know what the good is, how does that bear on the best city, which Socrates and his interlocutors try to describe in the Republic. Now, we introduced already some of the difficult ideas that Plato is putting forward, namely that there is such a thing as the form of the good, and the many good things participate in the form of the good. And it is on account of that relationship of participation that they are good. Now, in order to defend this and in order to elaborate on the epistemological side of this proposal, Socrates imagines a kind of conversation between the person who holds this view and a person or group of persons who denies this view. The group of persons who denies this view is called the lovers of sights and sounds. And for now, we are not talking about the form of the good or the good, but about the form of the beautiful and the beautiful. But the kind of basic idea is the same, namely that the many beautiful things are beautiful via their relationship of participation to the beautiful or the form of the beautiful. So the lovers of sights and sounds, they love, the many beautiful things. They love beautiful clothes. They love beautiful furniture. They love beautiful houses. They love, all the sorts of things in the perceptible domain, which we ordinarily call beautiful. And they, on top of that, deny that there is such a thing as the form of the beautiful. So they think that really all there is to say about beauty is what we say about these things, like beautiful shoes or beautiful houses or a beautiful cup. And that's their mistake, according to Plato and Socrates. Now, Socrates says that these people who think that all there is to say about beauty can be said in terms of beautiful, perceptible things. Beautiful, in kind of Plato's terminology, beautiful particulars, where those are, some of the many things that are beautiful, as opposed to the beautiful or the form of the beautiful. So those people, Socrates says, don't have any knowledge. Instead, they have merely doxa. And that is the term that we began to think about already when we studied Parmenides, and we translated it as opinion. And Parmenides was saying that doxa really is ignorance, and that there are these two roads of inquiry. One is that of knowledge where all truth is, and that's concerned with intelligibles. And then there is kind of utter ignorance on the other side, and that is where also doxa is. And doxa, hence, was for Parmenides concerned with what is not. Now, the passage we are reading now, the conversation that Socrates has with the lovers of sights and sounds, is incredibly famous because it is a way in which Plato departs from Parmenides, even though he makes it very clear that he is engaging with Parmenides and that he holds Parmenides in very high esteem. So the proposal now is that when you have knowledge, then knowledge is of what is. That is recognizable from Parmenides. Next step of the proposal, when you're ignorant, then your state of mind is about nothing. So that also sounds kind of similar to what we discussed with Parmenides' notion of not being and ignorance, being concerned with what is not. But now the proposal is that when you have a belief, a doxa, an opinion, for example, this cup is beautiful, that's a view, a doxa about a perceptible particular. When you think a thought like this cup is beautiful, you have a doxa, and the proposal is that you are now neither concerned with what is nor with what is not, but rather with, and now comes a complicated formulation, with what participates in being and not being. Your homework assignment for today is just this, to try and make sense of this notion, what participates in being and not being, and to try and think about like, how does Plato depart from Parmenides in carving out that notion, and why? Why would you think, if you put on your Plato hat and if you sort of ask yourself what's wrong with Parmenides' proposal, why would you think that a distinction between knowledge of what is, ignorance and doxa of what is not, is insufficient? And rather, we need some kind of in-between category where doxa, or opinion, is of what participates in being and not being.